would like to greet each and every one of you, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking your precious time to watch this video. In this video, I just want to talk about the problem that many people may not see, or the problem which many people may try to avoid, which is our leadership, South African leadership in general, and to be exact, black leadership. And that is why right now we are in the situation whereby we have a lot of people who are actually interested in seeing Mr. Groenewald as being the next president of South Africa. In other words, they want Mr. Groenewald to become the president of South Africa. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, people have their own choices according to the political structure or political system, because you can vote for African National Congress and you can also decide to vote for a different political party. You can vote for Democratic Alliance, EFF, or you can also vote for AfriForum. It's your choice. The reason I want to talk about this is because a number of people who want Mr. Groenewald or who wants AfriForum to take over keeps on increasing. People are tired. People are confused. In other words, people are saying right now they don't have any choice. They don't have any other solution, but the only way is to go to AfriForum so that they can select their potential leader, which is Mr. Groenewald. And now many people think maybe I'm against that. Yes, I may be against that to a certain extent, but I have my own perception. I have my own view, especially when people say the reason they want so and so to become a leader is because there's no leadership in black people. This is where I disagree, because I don't think all black people are not competent. I don't believe that all black people here in South Africa, they don't understand leadership or they don't know leadership. So this is where I disagree. The reason I disagree is because we keep on avoiding the problem that I want to talk about. For an example, right now, let's look at African National Congress. We can talk about their leadership style. We can talk about the kind of leaders they have and many other things within the organization. So in general, I can say there's absolutely nothing wrong with African National Congress, their structure and everything, and how maybe they set up their own structures. But where I disagree with African National Congress, they do not value competency, or they don't understand what does competency mean. Because yes, you lead from the top, but leadership is completely organized from the bottom. I will talk about that and I will explain that in details, why I say so. If you look at the ministers, we can talk about the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Science and Technology, all these ministers. If someone under ANC is going to become a minister, you have to look at their background. Most of them, for an example, they have a background of teaching. And some of them, they have a background of being in a struggle during apartheid system. And if you are going to put this person as a minister of science and technology, the only thing she knows, or the only thing he knows, is to, like for an example, go out there and fight. Go out there and fight against the system. Or go out there and be in exile, or maybe you run away, you are in exile, but you are also a freedom fighter. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's a huge task, to go out there and fight, to go out there and face the bullets. That's a huge thing. We accept that. But now, if you are going to put that person, this person is not trained, this person doesn't know anything. You bring this person and now you say, this person must become a minister of education, or a minister of science and technology, or a minister of finance. This person has never ran a business, has never calculated even a budget of a small business or a small organization. And now this person is going to be in charge of the budget of the entire country. And according to history, this person has never even stolen money in church or counted money in church. And now you are going to put this person as a minister of finance. That's a problem. This is where we undermine leadership, because leadership doesn't work like that. Because leadership has to analyze competency and incompetency. Even myself, I may be competent in other areas, but I'm also incompetent in other areas as well. For an example, you cannot put someone who has the background of engineering in accounting. You cannot ask maybe a history teacher to do BOQs for you. Yes, there are people who may say, I can multitask. I'm good with accounting, and I'm also good with other things. But we are not talking about that right now. We are talking about people who are completely incompetent. So now they choose these positions amongst themselves. Then the other one will become the chairperson of their organization. The other one will become a secretary. The other one will become a treasurer. And then they will push the other one to become the president. Why? Because the political system doesn't care about competence. Why I say so is because they don't care much about whether you're competent or not. They only care about your charisma. As long as there are people who love you, you can make people happy, you can make people smile. That's what attracts us, most of us black people. We are attracted by people who can dance, by people who can speak loud. Maybe they are charismatic in their speeches and etc. That's what we like. And most of those people are not competent. So now, if you're going to lead from the top and you are competent, and you are not competent, and you are not competent, what is going to happen? Because now you have to select these ministers. Just because this person has, for an example, a background of teaching geography, you are going to put that person maybe in science and technology. Because this person maybe has a background maybe of understanding agriculture there and there. You're going to put that person as a minister of agriculture. And this is where I disagree. So that is why in the organization of ANC and government in general, you have a lot of people who are not competent. Why? It's because the organization itself and the leaders and the ministers in government are not competent. Why? Because if you're going to have someone who is a leader, like for an example, a president, and the president is not competent, the deputy is not competent, then the ministers are not competent, because these people, they've never led a country. In other words, these people, they've never planned anything about education. They don't, in other words, they've never researched anything. So now, they're in positions whereby they have to make decisions. They have to make things happen. And these people are leading some of the people who are competent. And no matter how much you are competent in your department or in your job position, but at the end of the day, the person who's going to make decisions for you is someone who is not competent. And everyone, the personal assistants, the secretaries, and everyone who is working in the office of this person who is not competent, they have to take any decision this person wants. And that's the problem. So that is why right now, even when you move from top to bottom, you come to our counselors. Most of our counselors, yes, they have matric, which is grade 12, but they don't know anything about town planning, city planning, investor relations, how to attract the investors, how to develop the community in general. So how will they influence societal changes, development in their own areas, if they don't know anything about development? Why these people are in those positions? They are in those positions not because of competency, but because of voting. Because many people love these people. Why? Because they can demonstrate, because they can go out there and march, because they can talk. You see? And people like that. These people are motivated. But the problem is that they lack one thing, which is competency in leadership. So that is why right now we have many organizations who are like, we want to be in power, but they are not doing anything to prepare themselves for just in case if they can have this power. So they are going to do the very same thing that African National Congress is doing. Right now I'm talking about black political parties. They are not doing anything to prepare themselves to say, you know what, if something can happen here, I can take over, I can become a president, I can become a leader. This is what I'm going to do. So most of the things they say they will do are just theories. In most instances, they don't have practical things which they are going to do. They don't have any 5-year plan, a practical 5-year plan. They don't have anything. They just talk. They are good when it comes to talking. Then on the other hand, this is where I disagree with a political system. On the other hand, we have people who are competent, black people who are competent. In other words, they know about these things in our communities. They know about town planning, community development, how to attract the investors, employment creation, how to develop industries. They know about these things. They are competent. Some of these people, they have experience. If you can give them an opportunity, they can make things happen without even stealing money. In other words, they can make things happen even with a little budget. But the political system is preventing these people, is blocking these people from having access. Why? Because these people, some of them or many of them, are not charismatic. They are not loved by people. They don't have maybe that gift of being loved by people or to attract people like that. But they are competent when it comes to creating businesses or establishing businesses so that people can work. They have, for an example, experience or skills when it comes to developing a good infrastructure. They understand that. But the problem is that those who are occupying these positions, they are clueless. The moment you talk to them about these things, you can tell that they are far from understanding. They don't understand anything. And you can tell that this is a huge problem, or this is a big problem. This is what is happening. So that is why I'm like, we do not value competency at all, and we don't care about competency. We only care about votes. Most of the people right now who want to become councillors and mayors in the future, they are not good when it comes to the leadership, because people think like if you lead a march, you also qualify to become a leader, to lead the community, to lead the affairs of the community or the general affairs of the community. They confuse that. So that is why these people who have occupied these positions, they are clueless. Some of these people, they will retire maybe from working as a teacher to becoming a mayor. And they are also clueless. They don't understand what it means to become a leader. Yet we have people on the ground who are competent. It's just that they don't get positions. How do you see that these people don't get positions? If you go to all these various departments, you can tell that in this department, you need someone who has a computer skill, not just a basic computer skill, but who have like a serious skill, a deep skill when it comes to computer and understanding. And you can tell that when it comes to this department, you need a good communicator, someone with a highest level of communication skill. You see, you can tell that when it comes to this position, you need someone who is good when it comes to figures, when it comes to accountancy. When it comes to this department, you need someone who is good when it comes to business development or small business development, something like that. And when you look at these people, you can tell that they don't know anything. They are clueless. Why? They are there as a result of who are you connected with. Then at the end of the day, they end up occupying those positions. So that is why when you go to all these departments that are under government, you will find many people who are not competent. So that is why all these departments that are under government, out of 10, I can only give them 3 or 2. Why? It's because most of those people who are there, they're not competent. So in other words, before we can say this person can become a good leader and this one cannot become a good leader, let's come out of the political structure and focus on competency. Why do we have people who are incompetent in our departments? We can talk about municipal departments. We can talk about social development. We can talk about all these departments. Why do we have so many people who are not competent? It's because the top leadership is not competent. That is why the political system is structured in this way. For an example right now, if maybe I can have to challenge maybe a certain politician, and then people should decide whether to vote for me or to vote for this other politician. No one will vote for me. 90% of the votes will go to this politician because the politician is charismatic, can make people happy. The politician can sing, the politician can dance. But at the end of the day, there's no leadership. There's no leadership. So that is why as a people, we have to re-evaluate our likes and dislikes. Because in most cases right now, most of the things that we love, most of the things that we like don't work for us. So we have to re-evaluate that. Now maybe you get what I'm saying. Let's look at Burkina Faso. Through the political system, Ibrahim Traore would never would have gotten that opportunity to become the president or the leader in Burkina Faso, to bring those changes that he might have made so far through the political system, because the political system doesn't value competency. So that is why I'm begging. I beg Bantu people to come out of the political system and value competency more than they value the charisma that comes with a politician. If you love this politician, you have to ask yourself, is this politician really competent? Or is just a freedom fighter? Because many of these people are just freedom fighters. Some of them, they just talk. They are not even freedom fighters. They call themselves freedom fighters. We have to reevaluate all these things. Because if our departments are not led by people who are competent, then it means we have a problem. Because there are people who are not stealing. They don't steal anything. They are not even lazy. They always wake up every day, they go to work, and they have a budget, but they end up unable to use that particular budget. Why? Because they don't have planning. But they don't steal this money. The problem is that they are not competent. So they cannot plan anything. Then at the end of the day, the community suffers. So as the community, I think we have to reevaluate our likes and dislikes. In other words, we have to be true to ourselves about valuing competency, because I believe that competency is very important. So I cannot just be everywhere. So most of these ministers, mayors, councillors, 99.9%, if not 100%, 99.9999999%, they are not competent. And as a result, the community suffers. That is why now people are like, ANC has had 31 years in governance, but we don't see changes. You will never see the changes as long as the structure is not good. Sometimes you can just bring maybe 10 people to lead the country. And if those 10 people can employ competent people all over South Africa, you will see the changes. So that is why Ibrahim Traore is able to make the changes that he has already made so far. Why? It's because he's focusing on competence. And he's encouraging everyone to become competent. It doesn't mean if we say you are not competent, you are a fool. No, you have your own place where you are good. So we have to put you in that particular place so that you can excel in that place. But now, if you are going to take a security officer and put a security officer in the office of the army general, then it's a problem. As I come to the end of this video, I just want to say I'm not against any person from any other race becoming a president. The only thing that I'm against is that we want to act as if all black people are not competent because we judge them based on how the ANC is behaving. In other words, we measure them based on politics. We don't measure them, in other words, we don't question competency. of those who are delivering services to us or who have been chosen to deliver services to us. Because most of these people, they lack competence. Sometimes you just need one individual in your municipality, one individual in any other department who can just come up with a structure. Sometimes it might happen that even in that department, it doesn't mean everyone is not competent. Sometimes it might happen that people have been like mismatched in their own positions. In other words, instead of like being in this position, they've decided to put you in another position. And now, in the position that you are currently in right now, which you have occupied, you seem to be incompetent because you don't belong in that position. You don't have the skill sets to run that particular position. So these are the things that we need to look at before we can say all black people are not good. So let's at least test black people, or like for an example, measure them outside of the political system, because this political system was created by the system so that at the end of the day everything can be scripted the way it is right now, so that at the end of the day we can say the previous government was better.